Welcome to Flash News Now. Here are today's top 12 stories. World Cup Day 2 USA, Canada begins schedule, predictions, and how to watch. North America's two other co-hosts take center stage on Friday as Canada and the US begin their FIFA World Cup campaigns. Thai Princess Bajrakitiyabha dies at 47 after 3 years in coma. The princess, who was known for her legal work, died in a Bangkok hospital after years of illness. What makes Gaudí and Sagrada Familia so universal is precisely it being so local, so Catalan. The Sagrada Familia's local universal paradox is a timely case study in how place-based heritage can anchor global discourse on sustainability, identity, and public space. In a period when cities are pressured to retrofit historic cores with climate-smart infrastructure, Vive's framing underscores that authenticity need not be static. It can evolve through participatory, ecological interventions that honor original intent while embracing new technologies. For policymakers, the lesson is that heritage projects can serve as living laboratories for integrated design, melding Catalan vernacular timber framing, modern carbon-neutral construction, and community-driven governance. Belfast unrest. Racists and groups allied to the far right are now unified across Europe. The surge of coordinated anti-migrant violence in Belfast is a litmus test for a broader, digitally mediated convergence of far-right actors that can no longer be dismissed as peripheral skirmishes. By linking local grievances to transnational narratives, whether through shared memes, encrypted chat rooms, or cross-border propaganda feeds, extremist groups exploit the post-Brexit sense of disenfranchisement to amplify recruitment and legitimize attacks. This matters now because security services are scrambling to map a fluid threat landscape that blurs the line between homegrown hooliganism and a pan-European extremist infrastructure capable of rapid mobilization, funding, and weapon acquisition. Iran War Day 105. Trump halts attacks after Kharg Island threat. The U.S. counterinsurgency framework, or whether it will double down on its regional influence by backing proxy operations. In response, Tehran vowed to defend its sovereignty and threatened to strike back at any further U.S. aggression, explicitly naming Kharg Island as a potential target. Tehran's threat to strike Kharg Island was not merely rhetorical. Iranian officials have repeatedly emphasized that any further U.S. aggression would be met with proportionate retaliation. Funeral for former French First Lady Bernadette Chirac to take place in Paris. The death of former First Lady Bernadette Chirac and the ensuing state funeral underscore France's ongoing reckoning with the legacy of the late President Jacques Chirac, whose tenure was marked by a populist, anti-immigration stance that shaped the political landscape of the Fifth Republic. The ceremony at St. Clotilde, traditionally reserved for figures of national importance, serves as a moment of collective reflection on a legacy that many now view through a critical lens, especially in light of recent polarization over immigration policy and the rise of the National Rally. The Migration Pact. What's in the EU's landmark asylum reform? The timing of the new migration framework coincides with three converging pressures that could reshape Europe's political equilibrium. A surge in irregular arrivals along the Western Balkans route, a looming parliamentary election in France where immigration has become a litmus test for far-right gains, and the EU's strained budget for external border agencies after the 2023 funding deadlock. By tightening entry protocols, centralizing responsibility for asylum claims, and expanding the role of Frontex, the bloc is testing whether a more uniform, security-first approach can survive the legal challenges that the European Court of Justice is already hinting at, particularly regarding the principle of non-refoulement. EU adopts major landmark asylum reform, hardening border procedures. The EU adopts a major immigration reform on Friday that allows member states to reduce protections for asylum seekers. The changes have prompted right groups to warn that humanitarian concerns are taking the back seat to politics in Europe, where public opinion has hardened on migration. Trump claims deal to end Iran war near as Tehran says nothing finalized. The Trump Act claim that a great settlement has been struck to end the Iran conflict is a geopolitical pivot point rather than a routine diplomatic footnote. Had indeed brokered a comprehensive deal, it would signal a decisive shift in the U.S. pivot toward Iran from confrontation to engagement, a reversal that could recalibrate regional power balances, influence the stalled nuclear negotiations, and alter the calculus for U.S. allies in the Gulf. Iran's dismissal of the reports as speculative underscores the opaque nature of U.S. diplomacy and the risk of misreading bilateral signals. World Cup 2026. Mexico beat South Africa in the opening match. The 2026 World Cup's inaugural clash in Mexico City is more than a ceremonial opener. It signals a strategic shift in global football's commercial and competitive dynamics. With Shakira's performance underscoring the tournament's cultural branding, FIFA has positioned the event as a multi-platform spectacle aimed at broadening its North American fan base and securing lucrative media rights in a region that has historically underpenetrated the sport. The early goals by local talent Julian Quinn Quiñones and Premier League star Raúl Jiménez hint at Mexico's intent to blend domestic flair with international pedigree, potentially redefining the traditional underdog narrative and setting a template for other CONCACAF teams. Acknowledging rights and needs of Israelis and Palestinians. Shared path towards a secure future. François Picard is pleased to welcome Avi Meyerstein, co-founder and president of the Alliance for Middle East Peace, ALMEP, at a moment when international attention is increasingly consumed by conflict across the Middle East. Meyer argues that the crises currently unfolding are not isolated events but manifestations of unresolved political conflicts that have been left to fester for decades. While those things remain unresolved, he observes, any semblance of stability is just an illusion. They destroyed the future. Palestinian anger at rise in Israeli demolitions in East Jerusalem. Palestinian homes are being pulled down in occupied East Jerusalem to make way for a park. That was your Flash News Now bulletin. Subscribe for more.